Ciao, buongiorno, come state? So this is the mini lesson, the mini preliminary lesson in the Italian future tense. Vediamo, share screen. Okay, I want to share this one. Okay, which is my PowerPoint here. Ok, che cosa farete quando finirete il corso di italiano? Che cosa voi farete quando voi finirete il corso di italiano? This is in the voi one, non ci arrenderemo mai, noi, right? This is in the noi form. E questa sono io quando ho finito il mio dottorato. Okay. So, come si fa il futuro? How do we build the future tense in Italian? We have been used since the first conjugation that we did, il presente semplice, to take out the are, the ere, and the ire, meaning the endings of the verbs, and to put the correct ending according to the subject, right? And these are the personal pronouns, io, tu, lui, lei, noi, voi, and loro. In the next slides, when you don't see this, the assumption is that that I'm going to be using first, second, and third person singular, and then first, second, and third person plural. So it's going to be the you, the two singular, the he, she, the we, the you guys, meaning the informal you plural, and the they forms. And then the formal lei or usted, or the formal you, ma'am or sir, and the formal loro, right, when addressing a group of people formally. The endings are actually the same as the regular lei and the regular loro, so they're going to be in there. Okay. So, oh, scusa. So, parlare. Of special attention needs to be given to this change in the a to the e, right? It's not parlarò or tu parlarai, it's io parlerò, tu parlerai, right? And this is the same, the way that we conjugate any other regular verb ending in are. So if, for example, we have ballare, the root is bal, right? And then we put ballerò, ballerai, ballerà. Noi balleremo, voi ballerete, loro balleranno. And so, I verbi in ere, we'll see. I'm going to go a little fast because we're going to look at this in more detail and practice durante la lezione in class. But you'll see that it's actually, there's not a lot of variation because credere, vincere, you see here, besides this part, right? This is almost like we take out the er and we put it back, right? And then the o, I, a, emo, ete, and anno, if you remember o, I, a, emo, ete, and anno, right? So it's almost the same endings. So if we see then the ire verbs, dormirò, dormirai, dormirà, dormiremo, dormirete, dormiranno. Very similar to the ere verbs because the ir doesn't change, right? It's like you take it out and you put it back in, and then you put o, I, a, emo, ete, and anno, which, yes, you guessed correctly, is the same as the shortened endings in are, ere, and ire. So if we have capire, how do you say I will understand everything, right? Io capirò tutto. Right? Nella lezione di calcolo. So tu capirai, lei capirà, noi capiremo, voi capirete, loro capiranno. Right? So yes, so these are some of the verbs. Well, capire is there, but scrivere, sognare. So if you think of this verb as just being, right, ar, er, ir, right, ar, er, ir, then it's almost like you just putting the same endings into all of them, but we do not say that because of this, because the other verbs, if we only think about what's in green, then we'll end up making mistakes in all the other verbs, right? Because a cambia a e. So that's why we are still saying that we take out the are, ere, and ire, even if with ere and ire, you're just putting it back, right? So yes, in that respect, it's a little different than Spanish, but not so much, as we'll see later. So yes, all rules are meant to be broken, right? At least in grammar. So there are always exceptions, but not that many as in, per esempio, il passato prossimo. So essere is the SAR, like the SARS ending. So SAR in italiano. Io sarò, tu sarai, lei, lui sarà, noi saremo, voi sarete, loro saranno. And this is also the future of probability. Sarà il nostro quarto figlio, right? So we'll get into that as well during class. And this is something, sometimes I find things on the internet that are funny, that use the language. So you have it there also with the source. So it's appropriately quoted. And then there's another exception here. And can you take a moment and tell me why is this in the exceptions? It looks kind of like straightforward, right? Well, the exception is that if you remember what happens to all the other verbs, and then you see here that it doesn't happen. So the exception here is that we don't change it to e, right? The root of stare is star, not ster, right? You don't say stero, you don't say fero, right? You keep the a. But again, this is contrary to the rule that we always use, right? Stare and fare. So, but you see the star is like, and the far, and the endings are sono gli stessi. Right? And then, so there's two main groups of exceptions, right? Main groups meaning more than a single or a couple of verbs. These are the double R's. So you don't say io rimanerò, you say rimarrò, right? Rimarrai, rimarrà, rimaremmo, rimarrete, rimarranno. Volere, not volerò, which is actually the verb volare, but not volere, right? Vorrò, vorrai, venire, verrò, verrai, bere, berrò, berai, tenere, terrò, terrai, etc., etc. And you have one verb conjugated in its entirety. And you see here the endings again are always the same. What changes is the root. Then another group of exceptions is the disappearing vowel, right? So in these cases, you drop this vowel and then you put the endings to the root, right? So you take out always that e, but you also take out the vowel that is highlighted or in a different color here. So one example is here, avere, right? You take out the e and you have the root avr, right? Io avrò, tu avrai, lui avrà, etc., etc. So if you say, oh, I won't be able to work tomorrow, io non potrò lavorare domani, right? Io dovrò aiutare la mamma. Dovrò, io dovrò, right? This is andre, dovre, potre, sapre, vedre, and vivre are the roots here, to which you then put the regular endings. Okay? So un esempio, la dottoressa Muñiz avrà 100 cani. Ah, I wish, right? And then, siccome io insegno, right? Primarily I teach in California for the time being. Well, I've been teaching also in Las Vegas and in Puerto Rico. So that I sometimes makes, I tie it into languages that people know. So for example, if I have people who speak Russian or Portuguese, I try to tell them the similarities, right? Because sometimes it helps. And in college classes, we are always kind of in a race to the end. So per gli studenti che parlano o che hanno studiato lo spagnolo, right? Since most people have studied it at some point in high school or middle school in California, you may see a pattern here that is repeated, right? The strange case of the disappearing vowel in the future and conditional, right? Because we use the same roots for the conditional tense, just changing the endings. So en el español hay tres tipos de raíces irregulares, la que elimina una letra, por ejemplo, haber, sabré, ya lo estoy conjugando, haber, saber, poder y querer. Las letras en verde se eliminan, right? Creo que habrá 500 estudiantes mañana. Um, ¿Piensas que ella querrá venir mañana? Etcétera, right? The ones that, las que eliminan dos letras, hacer decir como um, mañana hará calor, ¿verdad? No sé qué ella le dirá. O las que sustituyen una vocal con D. Pondre, vendre, tendre, right? Saldre, como ella tendrá que ayudarnos. Yo no creo que el perro saldrá si llueve, etc. Right? So we have these three main ones. And then in Italian, some, well, not all of them, but some follow a similar pattern. So like if you say poder and potere, they both drop the E, so you end up with similar roots, podre or potre. Saber and sapere, they both eliminate the E, right? So in the end, because in Italian, you always like drop this E, sabre and sapre, right? And to them, you add the corresponding future ending, right? So just something to keep in mind if it may help you make a connection between them. Poi, again, sometimes when people ask me why is this so, and why is Italian making it so difficult, or like el passato prossimo, which you also see le passé composé in French, right? I say sometimes blame Latin, right? So all these languages have Latin as their ancestor, and you see this similarity between them, right? Of course, first, second, third person singular, first, second, and third person plural. And in some cases, sometimes even when they don't look so much, right? So they may sound like dormire, right? It sounds a lot like that. So, and you see also Portuguese and Spanish, so similar here. And sometimes they just have, just one letter is the difference, or an accent maybe, right? So something to keep in mind. And then there's not all these, this is the Latin base or the Romance languages where you conjugate by changing the ending, but the Slavic and the Germanic verbs, they typically work with auxiliary verbs like I will sleep, right? Or I would sleep for the conditional. So you see here, the modal verb is the one that changes. Ja budu spać, ty budeš spać. On, ano bude spać. My budem spać. Vy budete spać, ani budu spać. Right? And in Russian here, the spat is the verb actually to sleep, and this is the will. And the ti, miaki snack, is the marker for the infinitive form. Right? In English, there's not a lot of variation as we see. So when you say to sleep, to work, to eat, that to in the front is the one that kind of marks the infinitive marker. So in German here, ich werde schlafen, du wirst schlafen, sie, es wird schlafen, wir werden schlafen, ihr werdet schlafen, und sie werden schlafen. You see, schlafen, 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 schlafen doesn't change, just like spat, spat, spat doesn't change. What changes is the werden here, the auxiliary. And then if you can see here down, and I'm not going to give you this is not a lesson in any of these languages, right? So, but you see here in Mandarin that the verb to sleep right here, which is the last two characters, it looks pretty much the same, right? It is the same, doesn't change. And this is what marks, right? Just like here, the adverb they call it. And what changes here is the only way that we know in Mandarin actually that this who is the subject is by the wo or the ni, the personal pronoun. That's why you cannot leave them out, and you don't leave them out in English usually either, because otherwise you probably won't know who is the person doing the action, because they all like kind of look the same, right? So if we look at another verb here, and without me telling you what kind of verb or what language it is does this follow the Germanic or Slavic pattern or the Latin pattern? And that's kind of a easy question for you guys, because you see miegoti, right? This is the infinitive ending, and you take out that ending, and then ash miegosiu, tu miegosi, right? Yes, this is Lithuanian, and Lithuanian is very often mistaken for a Slavic language, but it's not. And this is one of the proofs, right? The grammar. Bene, allora, but let's get back to Italian. This is just a little parenthesis so that it also gives us time to process and digest the Italian, and then we get back to it now. And we're going to be doing this in class, so I'm just going to go through a couple, and I'm going to start from the bottom, and we'll keep these ones for later. But I can tell you for now, so you that the A, I put it in a different color for a reason, right? We're just starting. This is our first little exercise. So something is going to happen to that A, right? And in this case, I will tell you also what happens to the giare and care verbs. Care, gare, and giare. So that something is going to happen that we need either an H or we drop that letter, right, to make sure we keep the same sound, but we will talk about that more in class. And the ones in green are the vowels that we drop, and the ones in italics and gray are irregular ones. So, la professoressa, questa è la forma di lei. Lei, and let's, la professoressa scrive, and then if it's lei, oh yes, let's go again. The endings are o, I, a, emmo, ette, and anno, con due n. So la professoressa scriverà, and what? I cannot select that. That's weird. Okay, I am losing my cursor. Something happened, so I need to do this for a moment. And let's go back to it. Share screen, and let's go to the PowerPoint, and I think I may need to, okay, screen share window is closed. Yes, so I'm gonna go back. I'm sorry for the interruption. I wanted to have it, yeah, I like the big one so everybody can see it, even if you are looking at this on a cell phone or tablet, but this is easier to type now. So la professoressa scrive, so, and let me put this here in the endings so that you can see the endings here. If you are on a big enough screen, you may be able to read the O, I, A, emo, ete, anno, which are here, the endings. Scriverà. And then let's skip that one. We're going to be doing half of this from 7 to 12. Potere. So this is the root. Remember, we dropped that E. Io potrò, right? And then tu dirai. And then we just need to do the irregular ones. So this is a completely irregular one. Remember the S, the SAR, right? La tua vita is the subject, so it's she. Come sarà, right? It's not you, but how will your life be? So your life is the subject. Come sarà la tua vita? And then, let me see if I can have this here. So these are, the next two verbs are some of these, right? The double R exception. Io berrò. Ah, wait, I mistyped. Why did I put A instead of O? Oh, maybe any autocorrect interference. And then, and this is actually the title of a song. Wait. Okay, I have to look at the keyboard and make sure that my words are not being changed. And then dimmi quando tu verrai. Right? Sarà, dirai, berrò, potrò, verrai, scriverà. Okay, well, let's do just one more. And then noi non aprir. So this is the root, and then we just put emmo. Right? Noi andremo and so on. So, and the rest we'll be doing in class together. Allora, grazie per ascoltarmi e ci vediamo tra poco.